Wasted potential. Jonathan Bender. Now, Jonathan Bender, he came out of high school. I believe it was the 1999 NBA draft. And he was someone who was seen as being in the Kevin Garnett mold. And when you look to today, if you look back now, you'd say he would be in the Kevin Durant mold build at that time. Now, Jonathan Bender was a high school player. He was about 6'11", 7 foot, and he was a McDonald's All American, all these things. And the Indiana Pacers ended up securing him on a team that already had Reggie Miller, a team that had Rick Smits, and a team that would get to the NBA Finals in 2000 with Jalen Rose and Sam Perkins, and they had a very good team. Obviously, they made it to the finals, a veteran roster, and Jonathan Bender was seen as being the future. Now, the Indiana Pacers were a franchise where, Larry Bird was coaching, Isaiah Thomas had his time coaching, and as you get into the 2000s, this is when you have, they get Ron Artest from Chicago, Steven Jackson comes over, Jermaine O'Neal, they get him from Portland. Now, Jermaine O'Neal was in a similar path as Jonathan Bender. He came out of high school in the 96 draft. And basically, he went to Portland and he was buried on the bench because in Portland, you had Rasheed Wallace, you had Arvydas Sabonis, you had Brian Grant, and Jermaine O'Neal was never going to see any playing time. Plus, in the mid 90s, late 90s, this is still an experiment of picking high school players straight to the NBA. So a lot of the veteran coaches, that was also a part of it too, veteran coaches, they're not going to trust an 18-year-old on the floor with grown men. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Jermaine O'Neal goes to Indiana, the Indiana Pacers, and he develops an all-star career, what have you. When the team is transitioning from Rick Smits and Reggie Miller to then Jermaine O'Neal's team, and then you have, Al Harrington, who's another player who was out of high school, who I believe they got the year prior to Bender in the 98 draft. Al Harrington had developed sooner than Bender, and part of that was he got the chances to develop more because he was healthier. Jonathan Bender's wasted potential because injuries, the plague of injuries. There's many players in NBA history picked very high, but that knee injury, the ACL injury, the ankle injury, toe injury, foot injury, the lower body, it just crushed any career they could have had, and Jonathan Bender fits into that. Now, he was a 7-footer, but it was said that in practice, he would be making more three-pointers than Reggie Miller. That is astounding. Reggie Miller is one of, if not the greatest shooters in NBA history. And Reggie Miller and other players around the team said Jonathan Bender would outshoot Reggie Miller in practice. He had every physical gift: height, size, wingspan. He could shoot the three, shoot from mid-range. He can get to the basket. He was a ferocious dunker, good ball handler, but injuries. And really, it's as simple as that because they did view him as being the future. Now, the future might have been 3-4 years down the line. But when they got Al Harrington and Jonathan Bender, this is when they're planting the seeds for that future because Reggie Miller in the late 90s was getting up there in age. Rick Smits would soon retire. Sam Perkins was a veteran. Mark Jackson was a veteran. So Indiana, they understood we do have to start planting a seed to rebuild. But unfortunately, that did not happen for Jonathan Bender. He was injury plagued. And also, this was kind of a time when that seemed to be happening a lot with these type of high school phenoms. It was either an injury stunted their growth, or maybe it was just one thing that's not really mentioned a lot in sports is a lot of people are very good in high school. A lot of people are good on a playground. A lot of people are very good in college. But when you get to the professionals, it's a job. Sometimes when you have a great high school prospect, a great college prospect, they don't pan out not because they didn't have the talent, not because they didn't have the right system. Sometimes the fun was taken out of it because now it's a job. It might have just been fun to you in high school or as a kid or even in college, but now in the NBA, you have to travel. You have to weight lift. You have to get on a nutrition program. You have to wake up at this time. You have to do this and this and this. It's a job now. Sometimes that sucks the life out of certain players. I think this happened at the same time as Jonathan Bender. I think this happened to someone like Darius Miles, who was another person, 6'9", 6'10", Kevin Garnett type of young build. He was supposed to be the next great. You know, I believe the Slam magazine put a cover of the next KG. You know, Eddie Curry, Tyson Chandler. A lot of these prospects are seen as being the future of the NBA, the new generation. But I think a lot of it did not happen because it became a job. That's something very underrated that fans and media don't realize or take into account when they criticize someone for not reaching their potential. It's not always, well, this person was, they were overrated when they went to the draft. It's not always that. It's not always they were lazy, unmotivated. No, sometimes the life, the excitement, the exuberance is taken out of them. And just because you're getting paid, that doesn't mean, well, at least you're getting paid, so you should still be doing it. That's not realistic for human beings. You're still a human being. But Jonathan Bender, he was someone who he did try and fight from injuries and get back and get back. And there were times when he did get back to play, but then another injury or the same injury flared up again. And it was a struggle for him. And Indiana was very patient with him. And then, eventually I do believe he did find his way to the New York Knicks. And he had some good showings, but eventually he retires. And Jonathan Bender, he would have been a multi-time All-Star. If he stayed healthy, he would have had the opportunities. He would have had the right team around him. He would have been an All-Star. He would have been a factor. He would have been in that Kevin Garnett, Tracy McGrady, Kevin Durant, Wembanyama type of mold. But it was just simple as injuries. That's what stunted him from developing, and that's what made him wasted potential in that era of the high school experiments, which was the late 90s, early 2000s. And with that said, I'm up out of here. Hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to support the channel. If you have a video request or idea or a topic you want discussed, you can donate to the Cash App. It's in the description, or you can hit the thanks button, and that is it.